I love the names on this team. They have Sixto Sanchez, and they have my favorite name probably in baseball right now, Jazz Chisholm.
Showing emotion in baseball is terrible and should never be in the game.
It's weird how the dynamic works between sports.
But to win a championship, not only do you need great players on the court, but you need good chemistry, which takes time to develop.
Justin Fields is a all-time talent.
Corey Perry will give some veteran presence to the Canadians.
I feel like Luka will take that next step, and if he can get a three ball consistently around 35%, I feel like they could become a contender.
We can make jokes about you not being in the Super Bowl for 20-something years, but...
What's up, everyone? This is Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild and Lift the Mask, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Austin and Kevin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another NBA Opinions of the Week, another coaching talk. And the man that kind of floated this idea when the Pistons were going through that long streak, Austin.
Yeah. I'm the one who also came up with the title that the Pistons have failed Monty. It is... Well, Monty was not the greatest head coach ever in his first year. We've seen what he's able to do with true talent, and the Pistons did not have that this year. And they're deciding to spend a lot of money for him not to be the head coach next year. I don't like the trajectory of the Pistons right now, especially after this firing. I don't know how much you can do in 1 year with the roster that is so bad. I don't know. I'm torn because I understand why they fired him in a sense, but it just feels like they keep scapegoating coaches instead of addressing true issues.
Yeah, to me, this came as a shock because it just kind of seemed out of the blue. I know they were terrible last year. However, they did give him one of the largest contracts ever for a coach. And just from a money standpoint, how do you give that up? And he was in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago, even the NBA Finals. He was coach of the year. So giving up 1 year just seemed very alarming.
Especially with this roster. They're not a win-now situation. If it was win now, I'd understand it. But this is not that. These players are young. There were some injuries. It was a horrible roster. And I don't think he was given a fair chance.
Yeah, I don't think you can... what can you blame him? You can blame a coach for some talent. If there is talent there and players aren't developing. But there's nothing he could have done in a year.
Yeah, there's no big signings or trades he was able to do. I know that's more the GM's job, but he has some influence in that. It's hard to really see a player's progression, like him getting better over just one season. So you don't know how much he's actually impacted the players. And while they did have a historic losing streak, stuff happens. And I really do believe that Monty deserved another year, at least one more year, for him to prove whether or not he deserved the contract or not. He's going to get paid it anyway, but I think the Pistons make the wrong choice.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm trying to see what his numbers were as a coach for the Suns, because they were a bad team when he first started.
Yeah, and they didn't make the playoffs for a little bit, and then they got into it, and they did not give him that chance here in Detroit.
Yes, and I like what you said. I wouldn't have been opposed if they fired him mid-season. It still would have been... I would have been against it just given the contract. Because for Detroit, how are you going to get that money? We can see it more with Lakers and New York and just that kind of fan base and ownership. But for the Pistons, money is hard to come by. So why are you giving it up? And it'd be different if they had we want this guy. But I don't think they have a plan.
There's no clear objective here. I don't really understand it. Monty was the head coach for the Hornets/Pelicans for a little bit, made the playoffs a couple times there, and then ended up getting fired. But then he came back with a vengeance with the Phoenix Suns. Their first year did not make the playoffs. Second year, they won the West. And then the next year, they made the playoffs. And the next year, they made the playoffs. And then there was a surprise firing there because it seems like more of a team-building issue right now in Phoenix than a coaching issue. That's why I don't understand why Frank Vogel got fired, correct?
Yes.
That again, it just makes no sense. He had 1 year with a roster that is interesting, has a lot of injuries. We'll probably do a entire like NBA head coaches video at some point, and we'll talk in more retrospect regarding that. But I don't believe Monty should have been fired in that sense. And then obviously with the Pistons this year, they were horrible, sure, but they weren't like so far bad that they were by themselves the worst team. The Wizards had one more win than them. Yeah. So it's not like they were, I know they had a bad losing streak, but they started to figure it out by the end of the year. And they did not reward his ability to turn the season around. So I'm shocked. I don't really understand what you could have expected from him. Like, I understand you don't want the worst record in the league, but he's not the reason why you guys only got the 5th pick instead of getting the 1st pick. It is what it is. Stuff happens, like I said, and while it's not the situation that you want, he still deserves a chance.
Yes, he does. I wonder. I think maybe 2 years or 3 years. Well, I know definitely 3 years for NFL coaches, but it deserves like 1 or 2 years for an NBA coach because they have to set the foundation of their coaching, and these are young players. So, like, what about their defense? Now they're going to have to learn an entirely new defensive system. So, it's just very questioning and alarming because there's no guy in the wings. They're just restarting their coaching search. And I don't know if you can find a coach with a better resume than Monty Williams, who was a coach of the year, and you talked about what he did with the Suns.
I guess you could technically go for a guy like Frank Vogel, who's won a championship, right? But it again is, it's weird. I don't really know. I don't really get the move. I don't understand. I don't think it was fair. It is what it is. But I don't like the direction that the Pistons are heading.
Yeah, I agree. I like the direction under Monty Williams. Like, I still think he's a good coach. And he's just shocking. It's not actually bad for him because he's still getting paid, so he can choose the right spot for him. Now I'm just concerned what the Pistons are going to do. And then you can think about money. Are you going to pay someone big money to become the head coach? Or how are you going to pay for the coach?
Yeah, because they're still going to have to pay Monty like he's a top 5 coach in the league, even though he's not on the team. With that amount of money on the table, I would have just gave him another year.
I would have kept him for a lot of it, just given the money I gave him. Like, how can you switch up? Oh man, I was so willing to pay you this much money. Now I'm really regretting that decision.
I could understand after 2 years, maybe. But after 1, it's crazy.
Yeah. I would have gone like 3 and just been like, unless the 3rd year they have another losing streak, then I'm like, okay, now I got to get rid of you. But you're going to have to eat 4 years of that deal. And yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm very interested to see what happens. And I don't think it's a good start for the Pistons and what I thought was going to be a rebounding year for them.
Yeah, we'll talk eventually whenever they do find their next head coach. We'll see. But it's not what you want to see if you're a Pistons fan, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It'll be a tough offseason, and hopefully they can rebound, but we'll see who Monty ends up signing with. I'm sure he'll get a deal this year or next year, and I'm sure whatever team gets him will be very happy about it.
Yeah, I think he's going to wait a year and just kind of enjoy it and look for a right spot. But we'll have to see, and we'll keep you updated through all that. I'll let you close this one out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know, do you think that the Pistons failed Monty like I did, or do you think that Monty deserved to get fired? Thank you again.